Here we're going to take you through how to build a seasonal contract for snow and ice services, or a seasonal estimate. There's a lot of different ways to price work when you're doing it seasonally. Some contractors take a very simple approach to coming up with your costs and prices. Others are very detailed. So we're going to go through a couple of examples in this video, and hopefully you can find one that's close to the way you estimate and just make subtle tweaks to get it to work exactly like you want it to for your estimates. Let's dive right in though to estimating to see how to do it. Here I am in the element estimating screen. And the first thing you want to do is make sure you're using service estimates and not standard estimates when you're doing snow. Service estimates include two different fields. One is number of visits, which is going to be essential for putting together a seasonal contract. And the other is a billing type, which we can set per season. So again, it's also essential for a seasonal contract. Standard estimates are more for construction. Standard estimates have a blue header up here. So if you're looking at a blue header, you're on the wrong screen. I've already created a customer and some job information. And if you click the Measure Site button as your first step, what it's going to do is pull the address of the job, and then you can draw your area around this to come up with a measurement for this site. We're just going to do a quick one right now, not that accurate. You can spend a little more time on this than we will here. But I've drawn my measurement around the area, and I come up with a measurement of about 1.7 acres. So that's the number I'm going to use for estimating the rest of this contract. Come back to our estimate now and go to Services and Pricing. And what I'm going to do now is put together a price for clearing and salting that lot. Now we're looking at a seasonal contract here. So what I'm going to try to do is build a seasonal contract based on the number of visits I think I'm going to have to service that property this winter. Let's start with salting. Over here, I'm going to go Add Service, and I'm going to go Salting. Now, even though I might not be pricing these things separately, and maybe I am, salting's an option. You could be pricing it in addition to the seasonal contract, or you could be pricing it as part of the seasonal contract. That's what this billing type field here is going to dictate. If I choose per season, salting's going to be included in this contract monthly price I'm going to give the customer. If salting's chosen as per visit, then salting is going to be billed in addition to our contract price on a per app basis. So it's up to you, and it's up to each contract how you want to set it up. For right now, I'm going to set it up as a seasonal all-inclusive contract that includes salt. So I'm going to set that as per season. Now my job here to get the right price on this contract is to guesstimate how many visits we're going to have to apply salt to this property. Now this is obviously going to change depending on where you're watching this video. But I'm going to choose, say, 40 visits of salting to help me get my contract price for this winter. Now I've got my salting line item here. I need to add the costs it's going to take me to salt the property. So I'm going to go Add Items and Templates. Now, if you have templates, this gets easier, but I'm just going to use items right now. Very quickly, I'm going to add my snowplow driver. I need a salt truck, and I need salt. So I've added those three because those are the three costs I'm going to need for salting. Now that lot was 1.7 acres. So either I can manually calculate the quantities of these things I'm going to need, or if you've built production rate calculators, which I have, I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to click my production rate calculator, drive into snow plowing lots, and put in with my salt truck 1.7 acres. And based on a production rate of 6.8 or 6 acres an hour, it says I'm going to be salting there for half an hour. Now you may want to round this number up. I'm going to round it up to the nearest quarter hour, which means it'll round up to half an hour for my price. Now that's an option. You don't have to do that. I'm going to do that just to absorb a little bit of time for mistakes, etc. So I'm going to hit Update Estimate. Now my plow driver's at half an hour. My plow truck's going to need half an hour. And now I have to calculate how much salt I'm going to use. If this lot is almost 2 acres, I'm going to use almost a ton. So I'll set that at 3/4 of a ton. And now I've got a price per salting. But more importantly, I have a seasonal price for salting, which includes 40 visits of salt. And there's my seasonal price over there at $5,500. Obviously, I can go in here and start tweaking my profit margins, etc. now, but we'll do that at the end. Close this down. And now this contract so far has come up with a total price, but all I've got so far is just salting. So now I want to add in plowing. So again, we're going to go Add Service. And this time we're going to go Plowing. The billing type is per season. And what I want to guesstimate now is how many times are we going to have to go plow this site. Now, this is where we can do this a detailed way or a simple way. So I'm going to start with the simple way, and then I'll gradually build some other details into this so that for those of you who use a simple approach to estimating, will be covered right now. Those of you who take a more complicated look at estimating seasonal contracts, we'll get to that in just a minute. So here I'm going to guesstimate how many times I'm going to have to plow the lot. Let's say, for example, in our climate, we're going to guesstimate 15 plows. So the cost code is going to be snow and ice, and I'm going to hit OK. Now my job is to enter, because I'm just guesstimating a plow as an average plow, I got to figure out what's my average time to plow the lot. So once again, I'm going to go add items because I got to add cost to my plowing. I'm going to grab a snowplow driver. I'm going to need a plow truck. And I don't need material because the salt is already built in the salting application. So we'll close that down. Grab my production rate calculator. I've got 1.7 acres. It says based on 0.8 acres an hour, I need 2.13 hours. I round that up to the nearest quarter hour, I get 2.25. So I've got 2.25 hours now to plow this lot on an average time. And if I do that 15 times this season, I'm going to have to get 3,153 for the plowing. Now you may want to change these times. Remember, this is the average time. I used a production rate calculator that was based on an average snowfall, so that's where I got those numbers. But just double check that this is your average time per plow and not the easiest plow and not the hardest plow. You're going to have obviously events of different depths. Now, if you want more details, we're going to cover that in a second. But now I've got a price for plowing. I got a price for salting. If I wanted to do walkways for this contract, I'd do the exact same thing. I'm going to add service, and this time I'm going to do walks. We're going to do that per season. And let's say we're also going to have to clear the walks 15 times. So we'll add into here labor. So I've got snow walk shoveler, and they just go with a general crew truck. Close that down, and I would do my walks calculation. Now, we didn't actually measure that property, but let's say, for example, for our walkways, by hand, it had 600 square feet of walkways. So it figures it's going to take 0.40 hours. I'll round that up to the nearest quarter hour. We get 0.5. And I've got my time set up for walkways. So if I had to clear the walks 15 times, I've also got my price in there. So this is how we would build a per season contract. Up here, you're going to specify your number of payments. I've chosen 5. So what it's done now is taken the total seasonal price for all these services and come up with a per seasonal total, and then spread that across X payments to come up with an amount per payment. And all this information will come out on the proposals. Now's where you can do some interesting things as well. Let's say I wanted the plowing and the walks to be part of the contract, but the salting, I wanted to be extra on a per app basis. What I can do is just click the salting, change this to per visit. Watch what's going to happen now to my per season total. When I change this to per visit, now that drops dramatically. Now this includes only the walks and the plowing, and the salting is billed on a $137 per app basis. So that's how you build a contract with a couple of different options, either per season or per visit. But if you do take a more detailed approach to pricing your seasonal contracts, stick with us and let's take a look at how we're going to do that. When we did our plowing, we really just took the average time it would take to plow a lot. Some contractors want to get a little more detailed. For instance, let's say, for example, this is the average time it takes us to plow an event that's anywhere from 2 inches to 6 inches. But what about those events that are sort of 6 to 10 inches? We want to make sure we get enough for those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate that we're going to have 10 events of 2 to 6 inches, and I'll add another 5 events of 6 and more inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and this one I'm going to call plowing 6 inches plus, and we'll hit OK. So now I've got this new work area as part of my estimate. What's going to change about a 6+ inch plow? Well, it's going to take us a lot longer to plow it. So I'm going to up these times. One thing you can do if you want is use your production rate calculator and reduce your production rate. So it's still 1.7 acres, But this time, instead of being able to do 0.8 acres per hour, if we're dealing with 6 inches and up, maybe I can only do 0.5 acres per hour. So now it gives me a brand new time. I'm going to round it up. I get 3.5 hours. So I'll change both my labor and my truck to 3.5 hours. The depth of the snow isn't really going to affect our salting time, so I'll leave that alone. And then I'm going to save our changes. And I'm just going to reorder this a little bit to make it look neater. And now I've got salting, 10 visits of 2 to 6 inch plowing, and I'll change that to 5 visits of 6+ inch plowing. And then I've still got my 15 visit of walk clearing. So now I've got a per season total that's based on costs for different sizes of events. You could be as detailed as you wanted with that. So for example, I could have created 2 to 4 inch, 4 to 6 inch, 6 to 8 inch, 8 to 10 inch, estimated the number of events we would have in a season at each threshold. And I'd come up with a really accurate, as far as guesstimating is concerned, a really accurate per season total, assuming an average season in our weather. And that's how you estimate snow contracts on a per season basis. If you have any questions about anything we covered in the estimating video, please reach out to us at support@golmn.com. We'd love to help you get your estimates tight so that you're building them fast and profitably each and every time. Thanks for watching.